Alright, so here we are back again with another chatters. Can't think of a funnier pun than that. Can't even think of a pun to begin with. So we're back with Mario Wonder. We're gonna beat the game tonight. We don't have that much left. So yeah, let's, I guess, just jump right back into it. Which button do I hit? This one. There we go. Back once again. Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Wait, do we have... Okay, do we have audio now? I was gonna say there for a second it looks like we didn't have audio. I think we have audio now. That seems right to me. So we're near the end of the game. We're in the 5th world, or 6th world, I mean. We literally have this world and maybe the final, and then the final boss, the final, like, I think it's 4 stages, but it might be 5. I honestly don't remember. But it's not much left. We'll probably beat it within the next hour. Probably even less than that. If I'm being perfectly honest. I don't know, I didn't check the timestamp. Yeah. Wonder what we're gonna do after this. Just go back to Splatoon. I don't know. The new Turnip Boy game. Turnip Boy commits tax of, or no, Turnip Boy robs a bank. Excuse me. Turnip Boy robs a bank came out today. And I think it's a roguelite. It seems like a roguelite. And there was someone who like, oh, you know, my game's number 2 on the Steam best-selling list behind Turnip Boy Robs a Bank, which, you know what? That's an okay name, right? I'm fine with losing to that. And then them finding out, wait, this is a sequel to Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion? That's the best name for a game ever. Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion is a very weird game. If you've never played... It's about a turnip boy committing tax evasion. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. It's definitely one of those games that you have to get the true ending for. I feel like the game doesn't have a... If you just get, like, the normal ending, like, yeah, you beat it, it's fine, whatever. But I feel like the story actually pays off in the true ending. Also, there's the whole fact that you're in the fucking post-apocalypse, which is crazy, and, like, there were certain things... Because I've played the game twice now. And there were certain things I had just completely forgotten about between my first and second playthrough, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, this is a thing. Specifically, I'm talking about the mutants, the mutant humans. I completely forgot about that. Oh my gosh. I have this can, but then I also, last week we tried a Shirley Temple, and it wasn't that, I was unimpressed with it. It was more cinnamony than I thought it was going to be. This week I have just a normal black cherry, and I hope it's a lot better. If you can't tell, I bought a 6-pack of just a variety pack of like bottled soda, not cans, bottles. And I'm basically at the end. I got this one and a root beer left. But you know what? They're really good. I really did. The only ones I didn't like. I've liked, I guess what, four of the 6. The Shirley Temple I didn't really care for, and the lemonade. It was like a sparkling lemonade. It was okay. Like, I didn't hate it, but it's not one of those things like I would get again. I'd much rather have, you know, I had the cream soda. Oh my god, I love a good cream soda. I love a good root beer as well. Always on a quest to find a good sarsaparilla, but, you know, I never can. And then I got a can of Mountain Dew Baja Blast. Because they re-released that. Oh, I had some food news tonight. I didn't even put that on the list. Let me add that right now, actually. Well, we've got a sec. I'll just do that first thing. Food shit. So, the one story we have tonight is Xbox. Xbox, you know, normally nothing happens in June. June in gaming news is pretty dry. Right, there are very few announcements. Nintendo has done directs in June, but not always. Like, it's not the most common thing in the world. So, I'll be honest, I didn't have too high expectations. But Xbox decided to do a showcase, so we have that. I saw a movie. I saw the Mean Girls movie. We'll talk about that. And we have some food stuff, and of course, Percy Jackson. Right? Episode 6 came out. They're at the Lotus Casino. So we'll talk about that. You know, I keep seeing those videos on, like, about people, like, cleaning out their noses, right? Just cleaning out their sinuses. And I'm like, fuck, I should do that. I know you shouldn't use tap water, because the tap water, like, will really just, you know, you can get, like, a parasite or whatnot. But, you know, I know they sell, like, distilled water. I really should do that, because my sinuses are so fucked up. As is obvious every time we do this. So let's start off with Xbox, shall we? So, Xbox did their developer direct. First one of the year. They did it, what, 2 days ago? They did it on, what, Wednesday, I think? That sounds right anyways. I don't think they... Or did they do it yesterday? Honestly, I cannot remember. I'll be honest, at first anyways, I only watched the latter half of it. I kind of like skimmed through the first half with specifically Avowed and Hellblade. I tuned in at the very end of the Hellblade segment and watched the rest of that on till the end. And I specifically watched the Kinda Funny watch along because, you know, it's an Xbox showcase, whatever. So yeah, I've got a lot of stuff more to say about the latter half than I do the first half. Avowed, I'm interested in Avowed. I do like, right, what they're showing off with, like, you being able to, like, quickly switch through spells. I'm kind of glad they're not limiting themselves to, like, the whole sci-fi thing, or the whole fantasy thing, I mean, like, there's guns in it and whatnot. Right, like, yeah, they're doing, you know, this is Obsidian's Skyrim, but, you know, they've taken a while to develop this game, and I really hope it pays off. I know people have mixed feelings on the Outer Worlds, right? Sounds right, the Outer Worlds, their previous game, and right, everybody wants a Fallout New Vegas remake. I want a Fallout New Vegas remake, obviously. Like, it doesn't even have to be that big of a remake. You could literally just put the game in HD, polish out a few of the bugs, and we'd be golden. Maybe add better mod support. Even though the game's already, like, oh my god, the things people do in that game, man. Holy shit. But no, Avowed looks fine. Right, they're definitely going all in with it, right? Quick spell casting, which I think is good. I think that, you know, you gotta set yourselves apart from Skyrim somehow. We did find out that Obsidian actually pitched an Elder Scrolls game to Bethesda after Fallout New Vegas, where they were like, oh, well, what if we just made the Skyrim, or, you know, the Elder Scrolls equivalent of New Vegas? And, like, that sounds really interesting, but I'll be honest, like, yes, I love New Vegas. New Vegas is a great game. But, I'll be honest, I like fantasy, but I'm also, like, most of the fantasy stuff I interact with is, you know, like, it's either books, right? It's a lot of books, or it's, like, your Zelda. Like, I don't really play that many fantasy video games. Like, I really do think it's just Skyrim. Like, the only fantasy video game I can think of that I play, that I have played, is Zelda and Skyrim. I'm just not a big fantasy video game fan, man. Like, I'd much rather prefer the Fallout universe. I think the Fallout universe is... I just find it more interesting. Like, I know fucking Fallout 3 is just, hey, what if, you know, because we can't make bullets spawn. What if we just... Or we can't make a gun shoot bullets. So what if the bullets just spawn in front of the gun? You know, it's like magic. But you get my point. I don't know, I guess outside of Skyrim, no fantasy game has really, like... And I know Baldur's Gate 3 is amazing, right? Don't even get me started on that. I just haven't played it. But, like, Diablo didn't really do it for me. Even though I'm willing to give now that Diablo 3 is on Switch, I'm willing to give it another shot. I've never played a Dark Souls game. I'm not a big RPG guy, right? Like, we always talk about how much I struggle to play RPGs. And, like, the only RPG I really play is Xenoblade, and that's not right? That's, like, weird sci-fi future. So yeah, I guess I'm not the biggest fantasy guy. Yeah, I wonder why that is. I don't know. Next up, they showed off Hellblade. I have heard fantastic things about the first Hellblade. It's one of those games I'm always like, oh, I should play that. And I have never actually sat down and played that, even though I've always heard amazing things about it. Right? I've always heard great things about the first Hellblade. I've just never played it. I hear it's actually pretty short. Like, I could probably beat it in, like, 1, maybe 2 sittings at most. Like, it's, like, only, like, 8 hours at its longest. So, like, I really should do that at some point. I just never have. But the new game looks fantastic, right? Like, the graphics in the original were just stunning. And the new one looks amazing. The music is great, right? It looks really impressive. I'm just like, oh, you know, I gotta play the first one first. Last time we saw Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga, at the Game Awards, I was really surprised we didn't get a release date. But no, we did finally get a release date, only like a month later. Okay, I guess it's like closer to a month and a half. But still, I don't know why we didn't just get this release date at the Game Awards. But it's May 21st. A perfectly reasonable release date, if I'm being honest. Right? I think I can't think of any other games coming out in May. Not at the moment. Again, Nintendo's going to have a Direct here in a few months. And next month. And right now, I think Final Fantasy is in, like, late February. And, like, that seems to be the major game. I don't think we have a release date for Dragon's Dogma 2. There's, like, 1 or 2 other things. Like, I can't think of anything coming out in May yet. So, you know, I think near the end of May is a perfectly good release date. I get that. Yeah, we've seen a bunch of this game. Not too much else to say other than, yeah, it looks great. I hope it is great. Hope there isn't a game-breaking bug that causes Stephanie Sterling to give it a 0 out of 10. I don't think that review is the reason I've never played the game, but I definitely do reference it more than I like to admit. Next up, even though they went into this showcase saying, hey, we're only going to have these 5 games, or these 5 studios, they actually surprised us with, hey, guess what? Square Enix is here. Holy shit. And they're going to show off their new Visions of Mana game. And guess what? The series creator has come back and is working on some element of this game. It's not the whole game, but it's at least something, right? I don't remember them being very specific. And you know what? I've played whichever one was on is it Secrets of Mana Whichever one's on the SNES, I never beat it. I played it for a few hours. Probably like the first time I ever got like an SNES emulator or something like that. I was like, oh, you know, people talk about this game. I should check it out. Probably around the same time I tried like playing Chrono Trigger for the first time. Because those were games I didn't have as a kid. Right? The only RPG I had when I was younger was Super Mario RPG. A game that I have never beaten. Right? I've started that game up 4 or 5 times. Never beaten it. But, you know, that's me being a dead horse at this point. So, no. Honestly, everything we saw here looks good. That Dragon Quest XI-S was a fantastic game. I admittedly also did not beat that game. I put like 50 hours in and just couldn't do the other 50. But I did really enjoy that one. And that's kind of what this reminds... Like, if I had to make a comparison, it would be Dragon Quest XI-S, because XI-S was so good, and I kind of want this one to be just as good. Like, I want this one to pay off in the same way, because I think that would be really cool. So yeah, no, I think everything they showed off here is great. Did they say it was coming to Game Pass? I know everything else they showed off here is coming to Game Pass. I don't think this one is. I don't think it's Xbox exclusive either. It might be, but I don't think it is. I know this is the first ever Mana game to be coming to Xbox. I know that was a big thing they pointed out. But I don't think it's like Xbox exclusive, unlike Avowed or Indiana Jones, which we'll talk about in a second. Which, of course, some PlayStation fans are already mad about Avowed, but, like, come the fuck on. I meant, did I say Avowed or Indiana Jones? I kind of don't remember. Next up, there was that one Oxide Studio that when we talked about this last week, I admit I'd never heard of. I was like, I have no idea who this is. Turns out, it's former people who worked on the Civilization games. So, right, it's people who made some of the Civilization games. They left the studio and started their own one called Oxide. And now, I don't know if this is their first game, but, right, they're doing a Civilization game, a 4X game. And it's called Aura History Untold. And yeah, it's Civilization. And guess what? I love myself a good Civilization. Admittedly, it's a game I am very bad at, and I usually only play it like once a year, because games of Civilization take so fucking long. I usually only get a single game in a year, and it takes forever. Like, it's one of those things where I have to spend like 3 or 4 days just doing a Civilization game. But it's always a great time. My yearly Civilization game is always a really good time. 3 days might be exact. Like, 3 days is probably the maximum, the longest one has ever taken. But no, I really do like a good Civilization game. And honestly, everything I saw here looks pretty good. You know, they talked about their crafting system, and how, right, you use your resources to, you know, craft your structures and whatnot. I hope, because, I'll be honest, 4X games can be very confusing. I remember Civilization, some of that stuff is so fucking obtuse. But I really hope it's just clear about it. They talked about their leaders, and how part of what they were going for is they didn't just want, like, the obvious leaders. They wanted to do more obscure figures. And figures that, you know, are culturally important, but maybe not, like, political leaders. Like, right, like, the example they used is Sappho. Right? Sappho is, you know, mostly remembered nowadays as a poet. And, right, the founder, not the founder of lesbianism, but, you know, she's very significant in that front. I want to say she had some say in politics, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I've read any of her stuff. I know she did something like that. But, right, that's one of the examples they used. Another example that I can think of that I don't think they showed, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was the case, is like, oh, well, instead of having, like, Queen Victoria or King Henry VIII for England, they did, like, Shakespeare. as your civilization leader, or, you know, your aura leader, or whatever they're calling it. I think that's a great idea, right? Having just non-traditional characters and having, like, culturally important characters. It's kind of like in the early Civilization games, right? You had advisors. I know advisors still exist, but they're not, like, as big as they used to be. And, like, I remember in one of the early games, one of the advisors you could have was Elvis. And it's like, oh, I can't remember if it was exactly called Elvis or if it was just someone who looked like Elvis. Either way, you get the point, right? Like, they had non-traditional civilization leaders, which I think was a great idea. Or, you know, advisors, I mean. So seeing, like, a game where it's like, hey, what if we took those, like, non-traditional advisors and made them the civilization leaders? I actually think that's a really good idea. Right? I don't know how far they go into it. I think they there's one screen where I think they showed off a bunch, but I didn't exactly look through it. And they were just like little hexagon images. But, you know, I think it's interesting. I think it is an interesting thing. You know, Civilization dominates the market. And, like, I get it. But I'd love to see what somebody else can do with it. Because Civilization games do have their problems. Right? I eventually Stockholm Syndromed my way into liking Civilization 5. But that definitely was an uphill battle. Civilization 6 had its own spring of issues. I feel like it just comes with the genre, probably. So I'm sure this one will as well, right? It's just kind of with the territory. But I hope they do something good, you know. I'd love to see, one of my big Civilization influences is the Yogscast. Like, way after their Minecraft days. The Yogscast launched their own Civilization channel that might still get updates to this day. And I loved some of those games, man. Datloff. Right? That was just, you know, way after Minecraft when I was like, oh yeah, the Yogscast still exists. And I like Civilization. Yeah, sure, I'll see what they're doing. I loved those videos. So I'd love to see what they do with it. You know, just, this is me clinging to my nostalgia. What can I say? Even though that's, right, the Minecraft is the real nostalgia there. Oh my gosh. And finally they showed off Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I don't love the name, right? I like it better than Dial of Destiny, which I do not like Dial of Destiny. I think it's a dumb name. But I think every other one is better, especially Last Crusade and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Those are both fantastic names. I'm not a big fan of Temple of Doom in general. And Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, maybe a shit movie. Good name. Good, right, like the wordplay is, right, I don't like the wordplay in Dial of Destiny, but I do like it in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I feel like it works there. But Great Circle, whatever. Like, I get what they're doing, right? Ley lines and whatnot. I still think it's kind of dumb. But I feel like it does a great job, this game. They have Troy Baker playing Indiana Jones, or at least the voice. They did get Harrison Ford's right likeness. And honestly, I think it looks really good. It does not look like... everyone, right, when they hear, oh, Indiana Jones game, they're probably expecting Uncharted. And honestly, it doesn't really look like Uncharted. I know some people are disappointed by that, and those people are wrong. I think this generally, by not looking like Uncharted, I think is a great idea. It was kind of weird for it to be first person. Like, I was kind of surprised that, yeah, it's a first person game, but they're doing a thing where when you're, like, swinging from the whip, or you're overlooking, like, beautiful vistas, it'll switch to third person. So, right, most of the time you're in first person, but during, like, these cool moments, it'll switch to third person to give you, like, a great view of the character and everything. And I think that's a great idea. Like, yeah, no, that's a great... having the... I don't know how well it'll play. Like, I'm sure they'll make it make sense. They'll make it work. But I do genuinely think, like, oh, yeah, that's really cool. Especially because... platforming doesn't exactly work in first person. I loved Dying Light, the original. Okay, I really liked the original Dying Light. But I will admit, the platforming in that game is not great because you're stuck in first person. So I feel like the idea of like, hey, guess what? You're swinging from the whip and you need to make a precise jump. Well, guess what? The camera's going to shift to third person to make that jump easier. That's, I think, a great idea. Like, yeah, I'm cool with that. Sure. The game takes place between Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade. You know, makes sense. Sure. Right. It's... Technically, is this like the Star Wars problem where, you know, we can't do anything in the future? Everything has to take place within 2 movies. Is that always going to be a problem with Star Wars? Yes. Will that be a problem here? I don't know. Probably not, but you never know. But I feel like the characters looked good, right? The new, right? A lot of, because this is Machine Games, and right, Machine Games is just a studio that fucking gets it, right? Sometimes the most cathartic thing is just killing some fucking Nazis, right? Like, people have been bringing up a lot of their old stuff on, like, Wolfenstein, and just being like, yep, these are people who enjoy killing Nazis. And rightfully so. And this is great. Of course, this hasn't happened yet, but I guarantee you someone will eventually say that Indiana Jones has gone woke because he's killing Nazis. Twitter, especially under Elon Musk, is such a fucking brain-dead place that somebody will eventually unironically say that. But no, I feel like for the moment here, right, just you killing Nazis is going to be great, right? There's something super cathartic about it. And I feel like the Wolfenstein... Because the modern-day Wolfenstein games are great. Admittedly, I only ever played the first one of the, like, modern series. But it's a really good game. And yeah, I'm just glad to see more of it. Right? I think they'll do a great... Right? I like the modern Wolfenstein more than I like Dishonored. Because, I don't know, man. I just could never get into Dishonored. I try so much. And I just never do. I just never can get into it. But Wolfenstein, yeah, I got into. Admittedly, I also got into the modern Doom. But that's a whole other thing. So yeah, I think Indiana Jones looked great. It is Xbox exclusive, which of course some people are like, why isn't it on PlayStation? Nah, you know, they bought Bethesda. They can do what they want. And who knows, maybe they'll put it on PlayStation in like a year. Probably not. I mean, there are plenty of Xbox games that still haven't come to PlayStation. There is a higher chance of the game coming to Switch than coming to PlayStation. Because we still haven't found out about that, last week we talked about, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Hi-Fi Rush coming to Switch. I still think that's going to happen. But no, it's funny that there's a higher chance of Nintendo getting Xbox game or PlayStation. Because, you know, that makes PlayStation fanboys mad. Console wars are stupid. Oh my gosh. And yeah, I think it looks great. You know, that ending shot of him jumping from one plane to another, so fucking cool, man. I hope that feels fantastic when you do it in the game. Because that was a really cool bit. Yeah, no, I feel like they've done a good job at capturing everything, right? This is clearly made by people who really do care. And I really do think they're going to make something great here. Right? At least I hope so. Like, I'm not the biggest Indiana Jones diehard in the world. Right? I don't like Temple of Doom. I am fully willing to admit that 50% of Indiana Jones kind of sucks. It's really just 2 good movies and a Lego video game. Right. But no, I think this looks great. And yeah, overall, I think this Bethesda showcase is actually pretty decent. Right? Maybe it's because I think what pushes it over to the edge to me is that aura game, right? The fact that I am a fan of Civilization really is, I think, what pushes over to the edge. But even without that, I think Avowed looked fine, Hellblade getting a release date's cool, and then ending on Indiana Jones was great. So yeah, no, I think this was actually a pretty decent Xbox Direct. And, you know, just spending it, most of it, listening to the teams talk. There was that, in the Indiana Jones bit, there's a gaff, right? They left in a gaff where somebody walked in on camera to get, like, a drink or something. And it was like, yeah, he can do what he wants because he's the co-founder of the studio. I think that was the Indiana Jones bit. That might have been the Aura bit. It was one of them. And it was like, okay, you know, it's clearly, right, it's an intentional gaffe. Even if it wasn't intentional at the time. But I was like, okay, that's kind of, right. Gaffs work. Right? Planned gaffs. Go watch the BDG video. Here we are, the final level. Can you believe it? So yeah, I was thoroughly impressed with Xbox. So I guess that takes us to WIBE. So, okay. So when it comes to getting a sandwich, there's this one local place I like. I'm not going to say what it is because, you know, I just don't want to dox myself, I guess. There's this one local place I like. But other than that, I like Jersey Mike's. I think Jersey Mike's is pretty good. I think Jimmy John's has its place. Every once in a while, Jimmy John's is pretty good. I saw someone call it like a dad sandwich, and I think it's decent. And then finally there's Subway, which I will never pronounce correctly again because of that Odds One Out video. He has ruined it forever, so it will henceforth be known as Subway. I am not a big fan of Subway. I feel like the only time I ever had Subway growing up was when I went to my grandparents. Because they liked it, and it would be like, oh, let's go over to your grandparents to work on their yard, or something like that. And, you know, they'd get us lunch, and lunch was always Subway. Right, that's just kind of what it was. But I was not a huge fan of Subway. I also did like Schlotsky's, was that what the place was called? I liked them growing up as a kid. I don't even know if they exist anymore. I don't have one near me anymore anyways. I don't think I've ever had Quiznos. But yeah, so I've not been I haven't had Subway in years. But, you know, Subway, you know, I'm always down to try, like, new limited edition food. And I saw Subway was doing a foot-long pretzel, a foot-long churro, and a foot-long cookie. And I was like, you know what? I love myself a good pretzel. I'm a big pretzel guy. And what I used to do is I would go to Sam's Club, and they would have, like, a box of, like, 24 super pretzels. And I would just get one of those every, like, 6 months. And boom, that's all the pretzels I would ever need. Right? Twice a year, I would get pretzels from Sam's Club. And it worked great. And then, like, when COVID happened, or shortly after COVID, Sam's Club stopped selling pretzels. I don't think Super Pretzels went out of business. Like, I still see, like, the shitty ones at Walmart. But, like, Sam's Club used to sell, like, the ones you would get at, like, a baseball game. And I used to really enjoy those. So I haven't had a good pretzel in a while. I went to a mall once and got a, not Auntie Anne's, but the other place. Not pretzel. Whatever the fucking other place is. I got a pretzel at a mall once. Maybe it wasn't Auntie Anne's. I kind of don't remember. So I've really, in the past, like, 2 years, I've had... Oh, and I've also tried to make my own a few times. I cannot make a good pretzel. I always fuck it up. Because trust me, I tried. Once Sam's Club stopped selling them, I started trying to make them myself. And the last batch I made was okay, but that was like a year ago, and it just breaks my heart. But so when I saw Subway was doing a foot-long pretzel, I was like, you know what? See, the thing is, I didn't even need it to be great. It just needed to be an okay pretzel, and at a, like, $3 price point. That was it, right? I wasn't expecting the world. I just needed something simple and easy. That was all I was asking for. And even then, they let me down. I was so fucking disappointed. Some of it was fine. Yeah, did it taste kind of like a microwaved pretzel? Sure. But I could have worked with that. And then there were other bits, like, about halfway through, where they had, like, overcooked it or something, and it was just dry and hard, and it just, like, I don't want to say it was burnt, but it was like, it was just dry, and it was fucking awful. It was like biting into like a cracker, and that sucked, right? If it had just been like a kind of mediocre pretzel, I could have worked with that. But a really dry, disappointing pretzel, that sucks. Next up I had the churro. The churro was not great either. My big problem with it is that they didn't put enough cinnamon on it, right? Like, usually churros are like coated in a cinnamon sugar, and there just wasn't enough. So it was just kind of a bland tasting churro because they didn't put enough cinnamon sugar on it. That was my biggest disappointment with the churro. The cookie, on the other hand, so I've heard people talk about how good Subway's cookies are. How Subway has some amazing cookies, right? Even if you think the sandwiches are mediocre, the cookies are good. Footlong cookie, I was not impressed. Like, I don't really know what I would compare it to, admittedly. Like, part of me wants to say it was, like, too greasy. Like, that's kind of, like, it kind of reminded me of, like, a cookie I'd get at, like, a state fair. Like, I don't think it was raw. Like, it wasn't raw cookie dough. But it definitely reminded me of something like something big and greasy you'd get at, like, a state fair. Which can be good. But I just was not impressed with this one. You know, I was, like, of the three things, it was probably the best one. But I still was not impressed. I was super disappointed by Subway. Which sucks, because I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be disappointed by Subway. I wanted to enjoy it, and I just didn't. So yeah, that's it. That's the only food thing I tried this week. Yeah, no, I think that's about it. Yeah, no, I think that's it. That's all I can think of anyways. I was more disappointed by the Subway than I was Whataburger's wings. Like, Whataburger's wings may have been mediocre, but they were still fine. Subway was just a disappointment. So I saw the new Mean Girls movie. I did not see it last week and forget to talk about it. I just didn't see it last week. I was busy. So I was like, oh, I'll go see it on my theater's discount day. Honestly, I was horrified because we get in and there's only like 10 of us there. I went and saw it with somebody else. And there were only 10 of us there. So it's another group of 6. Or I think there were two behind us. So yeah, it was a group of 6 and then two girls behind us. And I was horrified because the group in front of us was kids, right? It was a mom, dad, and their 4 kids. And I was like, and one of them was like a baby. One of them was less than a year old. And I was like, oh fuck, this is gonna suck. Best behaved kids I have seen in a movie in years. I don't know who that mother was, but she is doing a great job. Those were the best behaved kids I've seen in a while. Even the baby. Like, it made a noise like once or twice, but no, even the baby was well behaved. I was so impressed. Because nowadays going to the theater sucks. So genuinely great surprise there. The actual movie, so I will say, I have seen the musical. I saw it on tour. I saw it I saw it, and then like a week or 2 later, Sarah Zed put out her video on the Mean Girls musical. So right, that was when I saw it. And you know, I thought it was fine, right? It's Mean Girls, they added a bunch of musical numbers. I do like the Heathers musical. So right, it's kind of like that. Of course, I do think the Heathers musical is better, but that's a whole other thing. But right, basically, did you like the Broadway production of it? Well, guess what? This one's very similar. Sure, is there a bunch of songs in the Broadway version that don't make it into this? Yeah, of course. Some of them for the better, right? Like, Stop not being in this version makes perfect sense. That's not a great song. Stars was the one that really surprised me. Like, Stars is like the big, emotional song. And the reprise is in this version, but not the original. Like, when they're at the party. The party song itself is removed. There's a bunch of others. But no, I know the musical has problems, right? The lyrics are not well written. The pacing's kind of weird. It's a weird thing to adapt in and of itself. But I thought it was fine. Honestly, I thought the performance I saw was fine, and I think this is fine. I am still of the opinion that I would rather see a pro cut of any Broadway musical over just a film adaptation. Like, I hear they're talking about turning Hadestown into a movie. I saw Hadestown on tour. It was fantastic. I don't need to see that into a movie. Just give me a pro cut. I think a pro cut would be fantastic. But yeah, I think this one was good. I think I like this one because of the cast. They had the girl who played Regina George in the Broadway version reprises her role as Regina George here. I think that works great. It was driving me crazy the entire movie because I was trying to figure out who played the main character, Caddy, and it was driving me crazy. And then as we're walking out of the theater, I'm like, oh, it's fucking Betty Brant from the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. She hooks up with Ned in the second movie, and they have their whole summer fling. An actual, in my opinion, a funny bit. I think the whole bit about them dating over the summer was hilarious. And yeah, turns out it's her. She plays Caddy, and I think she does a good job. The woman who plays Janice plays Moana, right? It's the same actress. She's also Haley Banks in that Disney show. But she's Moana. I think she does a good job. The only two cast members, there's technically three. Lindsay Lohan does make a cameo appearance, but of course Tina Fey and the actor who plays the principal are both back. And I feel like they both do good jobs. They're basically just doing their same role again, easy peasy lemon squeezy. I feel like it was fine. I was not blown away by it, but it was fine. I thought the Mean Girls musical, yeah, no. It wasn't anything amazing, but yeah. I feel like, yeah, the cast overall worked, right? The one who they have playing Gretchen, the one who they have playing Karen, they both work, they have their moments. Other cast members I'm forgetting, the one who plays, is it Damien? I think the kid's name is Damien. He does a fine job as well. Yeah, I really do feel like the movie holds up on a good cast. The dancing portion is, like, all the dances, the set pieces are fine. But there is one bit that did get me to laugh. Where, at the end of the movie when all the girls are, like, apologizing and, right, talking about, like, the things people have said to them that suck. One of the girls talks about how during Revenge Party, right, she felt like another character was doing a bad job. And it was a little bit of, it's like the only bit of meta in the movie, but it did actually get, like, a laugh out of me. Especially because it's the drama kids. There is a part of me that is like, and I felt this way about the Broadway musical as well, and probably feel the same way about the movie itself. I just haven't watched the movie in years. That, like, I know this is based on, like, high school, right? And I feel like kids in 2023 high school, I guess it's 2024, right? Kids who are in high school in 2024 act very differently than kids who were in high school when the original movie was made. What, like 20 years ago now? It was probably less time than that, but it's something like that. I feel like kids are very different now. We're basically an entire generation removed from that. Right? Like, high school kids when the original came out were, millennials. Older millennials, but millennials. Nowadays, it's older Gen Z. It'll soon be Gen Alpha in like 2 or 3 years. Old Gen Alpha. I guess young millennial is probably more what I was going for there. I don't know. Or, yeah. But you get my point, right? Like, I feel like things are definitely... The way kids... Right? Like, one of the things I said about the original Mean Girls musical was, like, they did their attempt to update the story by being like, oh, well, hey, guess what, right? We're going to mention things like the internet and whatnot. Right? Like, because, you know, that's very important nowadays. But I feel like they kind of understates how important the internet is nowadays. And yeah, the movie is no different than that. It still kind of understates the importance of the internet. But, you know, you can't do everything. So, yeah. Yeah, I liked it, you know. Is it the first thing I would recommend going to see out in theaters right now? No. Is it really weird that they did not advertise this movie as a musical? That, right, outside of the A in the logo having a music note, there was no songs in the trailer. Yeah, that is weird. And I know what studios will say, well, oh, in test screenings, saying it's a musical didn't test well. Yeah, well, no shit. When you only ask people who don't like musicals about a musical, of course they're not going to like it. And you know what else they fucking hate? If you don't tell people it's a musical, and then show them a musical. Like, there was a clip going around Twitter of when the first song starts, and the audience just lets out an active groan. Like, yeah, no shit, people are gonna react this way. So, I don't know what they expected. So there's Mario Wonder. You know, it's a pretty great game here. You know, I'll be honest, I enjoyed it. For, you know, a second playthrough, I had a good time. Mario games are kind of designed to be infinitely replayable, right? Where you can just play them over and over again. And yeah, kind of rightfully so, because they're really good games. And yeah, I really did enjoy this. The end. Alright. Let's switch over to Splatoon real quick. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we got a few minutes. At least. You know, maybe enough time to win one match. Oh my god. Ugh. I'm so tired. I drank that water way too fast. Like, I'm full. Oh, what do we... I see this. What do we have over here? Oh, is this, Okay, I'll admit I don't remember doing that at all, but okay. Yeah, let's just do a game or two. What else? What else? There was other shit. Oh, so, speaking of Mario, Mark Brown put out a video today, his 200th episode, talking about how Mario games do difficulty. And yeah, I thought it was a pretty good video, you know? I'm a huge fan of how Mark Brown explains Mario's level design. So I loved him seeing explain how Nintendo does difficulty. You know, stuff like the golden Tanuki leaf is what I think of. But I really do like Mario's assist mode. Oh god. Like, I remember hearing a story once of, like, a 4-year-old being able to use the assist mode in Mario Odyssey and beat the game. Which I know isn't, like, a crazy thing, but that just, I don't know why, that really impresses me for some reason. Right? Because Nintendo games are supposed to appeal to everybody. So the fact that, like, I think they were 4, they might have been even younger. It might have even been, like, a 2 or 3-year-old. right? The fact that they were able to use the assist mode in order to help them beat the game. I love that it's called the assist mode, right? Like, I'm all about flexible difficulty, right? Like, that's been my big, right? Like, because I'm totally on board the Dark Souls needs an easy mode. But it's always been, you don't call it an easy mode. You call it flexible difficulty. And I really do kind of want to see how Nintendo embraces it. There was an interesting point where he brings up how Mario Wonder at one point had, like, different difficulties. And it would change based on, like, what the player selected. So, like, basically every level had, like, an easier mode and a hard mode. And I think that's a really interesting idea. Of course, it became a little too complicated for design. But, you know, maybe the next game. I thought that's like a very interesting point that I'd love to see them do more with in the future. You know? Yeah, no, I'm all about adjustable difficulty. I think that's the way of the future. Way more than fucking Doom or Wolfenstein having, like, baby mode. Like, oh, are you a little baby? Does little baby need baby mode? Like, how fucking insulting. No, give us, right, like, difficulty sliders and whatnot have their reason to exist. So yeah, no, I enjoyed that. AGDQ has been this week. Admittedly, I have not been watching too much of it. Like, I've had a few runs go on in the background, you know, while I work. Not that many, though. And then, you know, there were those few runs that I did sit down and I was like, oh yeah, I'm super excited to see this run. I was super excited to see the Batman Arkham City run, because, you know, I just replayed those games last year. I was super excited to see the Pikmin 4 run, because Pikmin 4 is, like, the one game I do speed run. There was a dog named Peanut Butter who did a run of the game Gyromite. Fantastic run. Really, just a fun run. A great idea. Really enjoyed that. 360 Chrisum in Shenanigans did a Pokemon, I want to say it was Crystal? They did a Pokemon race, you know, which I've watched their streams before. You know, it's nothing new, but it's always cool to see another one. There was a bunch of other stuff as well. God, I can't think of anything else. What was another run? There was, like, one other big one as well. Oh, the Shovel Knight run was great. Yeah, the Plague of Shadows. Fantastic. Fantastic run of Plague of Shadows. I swear there was another one as well. I don't know. I can't think of it. It's been a good AGDQ this year. At least what little I've seen of it, I have enjoyed. And I think that goes until Sunday, so yeah. Anything else? Anything other than Percy Jackson, of course? No, I legitimately can't think of anything else. I'm sure there is something else. You know, I always forget shit. Like when I forgot to talk about MatPat retiring. Because, yeah, MatPat's retiring, and, you know, people have problems with MatPat. And MatPat is cringe. But I've been more likely to defend MatPat, right? Like, even through all of his cringe, he still has done some good stuff. He's done some problematic stuff as well, right? Like, I want to say he did he support Autism Speaks? He supported some shitty charity at some point. And it was like, really? Come on, MatPat. And then there was that thing with Toby Fox. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, good. Let him retire. I hope he ends on a good note. And yeah, I'll say I enjoyed a lot of his stuff over the years. Definitely not everything. Definitely not. But, you know, good on him getting to walk away to spend more time with his wife and children. You know? And it's not like he's gone forever, you know? He'll still show up every once in a while doing stuff. But, you know, he's passing on the channel to someone else. And at least the one he's passing Game Theory off to, I've seen him in, like, live streams and whatnot. And yeah, you know, he's entertaining. Admittedly, I don't give a shit about any of the other channels. Food theory, style theory, film theory is fucking a mess. But, you know, it's cringe. Like, that's it. If cringe is your biggest crime, then honestly, did you even really commit a crime? And then there was that whole thing with Chugga Conroy this week, which I just don't, right, there was a thing with Chugga Conroy, do your own research, believe victims, right, read, I'm sure there's going to be some bigger statement, but I just don't really want to talk about it other than that, because anything I say will sound like copium. Because, man, Chugga Conroy was one of my fucking heroes. Like, the whole reason I sit down and do this every week is because of Chugga Conroy. But you know what? Fuck it. You can't have heroes. All your heroes are dead. You just don't have heroes, guys. That's what it comes down to. You're not allowed to believe anybody. Everybody sucks. You can only assume the worst in people. No, all your heroes are dead and gone. Like, I fucking give up, man. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say on that, because copium. Anything else big happened this week? Not that I can think of. Oh, God. Not that I can think of. So I guess that takes us to the Peter Jacksons. The Percy Jackson bibble. So, okay, so episode 6 was all about the Lotus Casino, right? What I'm assuming is like a fan favorite moment. You know, the Lotus Casino is like fun, right? They go in there, they have a great time, realize that everything's kind of fucked here, and then try to escape. The show, on the other hand, does something very interesting. Right off the bat, they get to the Lotus Casino, and they immediately realize, like, hey, wait a second. This is like the land of the Lotus Eaters from the Odyssey. We shouldn't eat any of the food here. Because, like, a big part of the books is that they go from location to location and just kind of, like, stumble into things. Like, they arrive at Auntie M's, and they have no idea what the fuck is going on. And then, hey, guess what? It's Medusa. Or, right, they go to the Lotus Casino for some reason. And then it's like, oh shit, we're being, like, hypnotized here and everything. And that's kind of how it works for all of the books. Is they just kind of go places and end up in these situations. Oh, God. So, it's real. So, like, literal, almost more times than not in this show, have they gone to a place and just been like, oh, like when they arrive at Auntie M's, right? They're running away from the Fury. They see Auntie M and are like, oh, that's Medusa. Like, they immediately pick up on that's Medusa, right? The one they don't fall for is the Chimera. And, like, to be fair, they don't know it's a Chimera because they forget what that creature is. But, like, right, that's it. The land of the Lotus Eaters, they immediately, like, oh, I've read the Odyssey graphic novel. I know what the land of the Lotus Eaters is. Or in the other episode, it was the Tunnel of Love. They're immediately like, oh, this is a trap. Oh, this weird golden throne. Oh, yeah, this is a trap from the myth, right? Hephaestus trapped Hera in here. Right? Like, they, like, know the mythology. Which kind of means, like, yeah, they're walking into traps, but they know what the traps are gonna be? And I don't know how to feel about that. Like, I feel like that them knowing what they're dealing with. Like, I feel like a big part of the books is that, no, they have no idea what the fuck is going on. Right? And that includes all of them. That's not just, like, a Percy thing. Even Annabeth deals with shit where she has no idea what the fuck is going on. So that's a weird change. I'm not saying it's a bad change, mind you. I definitely do, but it just kind of changes the context for a lot of these scenes. Right? Like, in some ways, like, I think the stuff they add to the Tunnel of Love, I actually think is better. I think the Tunnel of Love in the show is better than the Tunnel of Love in the book. At least I'll say that. But yeah, I definitely feel like the Lotus Casino, like, because in, like, the show, they get swept up into, like, this whirlwind. And, right, they go on, like, this drug craze. And in the book, they're just kind of swept away and everything, and they're just playing games and eating food. And before they know it, it's been, like, multiple days. And they're like, oh, shit. Right? Whereas in this, it's just, like, time passes faster naturally. And they're like, oh, my God, was Hermes tricking us? Was he stalling us the entire time? Another thing, Hermes was not in the books. But honestly, I feel like adding Hermes to the show actually also, I think it's actually a good change. I know a lot of people were really worried about Lin-Manuel Miranda as Hermes. And, like, rightfully so. You know, nothing against Lin-Manuel Miranda. But I would not see him as Hermes. I think he did a good job. I genuinely think they sit down with Hermes and have this conversation, because Annabeth is like, oh, if you help us out, that'll show Luke how much you care, and, you know, maybe he'll be more inclined to give you another chance. Right? Because they bring up May Castellan, which is not something they bring up until, like, the final book. But no, they bring up, right, you know, the last time they saw May Castellan in Hermes, you know, the one conversation, because, you know, he met the guy once, and once was enough. They bring up that. And yeah, no, I actually think adding Hermes and, right, them talking about, like, what it's like to be a shitty parent as a god and how there's kind of nothing you can do about it. No matter how much you care, sometimes you just can't do anything about being a shitty parent. Genuinely, I think he does really well in the scene. Yeah, no, I think Lin-Manuel Miranda, was he the best choice? I don't know. Does he do the job well? Yes, so I'll give him credit for that. At the bare minimum, I will give him credit for that. Oh my gosh. So yeah, the Lotus Casino, Grover gets sidetracked dealing with Mark Hamill Goat. I know it's not actually Mark Hamill. At least I'm like 90% sure it's not Mark Hamill. But you could have fooled me, honestly. Alright, Grover's off dealing with that. Percy and Annabeth, though, find Hermes. He says he's not going to help them. They steal his car keys, but he knows about it and is like, fine. Then they go and save Grover. During this scene, there's a bit about, there's a whole bit about, so Rink Riordan, at least I think he said, at some point he was like, hey, during the Lotus Casino stuff, keep an eye out for something about Nico and Bianca. And so everyone was keeping their eyes and their ears out. And at one point, when, like, Grover's talking to the Mark Hamill Goat, you can kind of, in the background, hear a kid say something, and he says it twice. And it sounds like he's saying Bianca. Now, is he actually saying Bianca? I have no idea. Because this is one of those things where it could be like, you know, he is saying it, and that's what we're supposed to hear, or because that's what we want to hear, as a result, that's what we're hearing. That would not surprise me at all. If it's no, he's not actually saying Bianca, but because we all want to hear Bianca, that's what we're going to hear. Right? Our ears are playing tricks on us. Right? It's kind of like that, you know, that Yanni and Laurel thing, where it's like you will hear what you want to hear, because, you know, it could go either way. I don't remember which one it's actually saying, but you get my point. Right? We will hear what we want to hear. So maybe it is saying Bianca, maybe he's not. Genuinely have no idea. But no, I feel like that's all fine, you know, them in the Lotus Casino. It definitely does not play out like the book at all. You know, because Percy and Annabeth spend most of the time together, they're able to, like, see, right, they're able to see through it. Grover gets a little bit more entranced by it, but, you know, it's because he was alone. I like that, you know, I like that explanation. And then from there, they steal Hermes' car. They have trouble getting out of the parking lot, but once they do, it immediately takes them to Santa Monica. Percy goes out to the ocean to meet his dad and learns he's too late. That they have missed the solstice, But Percy refuses to give up, and the spirit gives him 4 pearls. So if you have read the books, there are 2 major problems. Even if you've seen the movie, there are 2 major problems. The first one is the fact that they missed the solstice. This seems to be the one people are taking the most problems with. Right? The fact that they missed the solstice, like, when they get it, like, yeah, they spend a lot of time in the Lotus Casino in the book. But they still make it out with, like, less than 24 hours. And this one, no, it's already too late. They're either, I can't remember if it's the day after the solstice, or it is the solstice. Like, it's that same day. Either way, they're too late. So that's the first big change. And this seems to be, the one that people are most unhappy with. And, yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't as well. The other change, though, is that the 4 pearls. Because, spoiler alert for the book. Do I need a spoiler alert? I guess I'm going to give a spoiler alert. So, in the book, right, the prophecy says, and it's the same prophecy in the show, it says that the line in the prophecy is that he will fail to save what matters most in the end. And in the book, that's his mother, right? He's unable to save her from Hades. And so he technically fails because he only has 3 pearls to escape with. Now that he's got 4 pearls, that kind of undoes that. Of course, in the next episode, in episode 7, he could still lose the 4th pearl, right? Maybe Grover loses his pearl when the thing happens next episode, right? Like, if I was Grover, I'd be fucking sweating right now, because he's got the shoes, and the thing is going to happen next. Because they may have changed a lot. They're not going to change the thing. That's still going to happen. It looks like it's in the trailer for the preview for next episode as well. So I don't think that's going to change. So that's the first big thing. Alright, so that's the big thing. So do I think that, like, ruins everything? The fact that they've got the 4 pearls, the fact that he missed the solstice? No, I'm sure there's somebody out there who's like, oh no, this is it, they've ruined the show, right? Him missing the solstice kind of ruins everything. I could see that reaction. I'm not going to jump to conclusions, though. Especially because, as someone who has, read the books and loved them, I have no idea what the fuck's going to happen next. Like, yes, I know they're still generally going to follow the plot of the book, obviously. Like, they're changing things, but they're not changing things, like, too much. This isn't the fucking movie. But, I genuinely, like, they could go anywheres. There's this air of unpredictability about the show. And I like that, right? As someone who's read the books, I like that air of unpredictability. Do I think they should have sacrificed everything else in favor of this sense of unpredictability? Obviously not, right? Like, and not everything needs to be a big shock and surprise. But as I keep comparing the show to to Scott Pilgrim generally surprised the socks off of me. I think the twist that show takes episode 2 onwards was fantastic. And I think they made a fantastic show. And while, yes, this show is making a lot of changes, not all of them I love, I do think that when push comes to shove, at the end of the day, this is still going to be a good show. Is it the one-for-one book adaptation everybody wanted? No. But it's still going to be a good show that is still decently faithful at the end of the day. Like, it's not the most faithful thing, but it's decently faithful. Like, it's still... And I feel like a lot of the changes they have made are good. The previous episode, episode 6, had some fantastic changes in it, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't know entirely where we're going to go with everything. There is this, like, the episode starts off with, because in the beginning of the episodes, Percy's been getting these weird dreams. And in these dreams, he keeps hearing what he thinks is Hades. And it's like, no, it's not Hades. it's Chronos, right? So, like, some things obviously aren't going to change. But I still feel like it's all going to work out well in the end. You know, sure, he will matter to save what matters most in the end. Sure, he will be betrayed by a friend. But I still think it's all going to work out great. And yeah, you know, it was good to see him call... They used the seaweed brain twice in a row. He called her wise girl. Luke said they're talking like an old married couple. That was cute. You know, I feel like the episode all works pretty well. I don't know what they're going to do with the whole Clarice is being accused of being the lightning thief. I don't know where they're going to go with that, obviously. Like, I guess we'll have to just wait and see. I don't know. It's a good set. If they... Depending on how they go with it, that might be a good setup for Sea of Monsters. Right? So, yeah. It's got some weird changes, but I'm still enjoying it. Right? There's something borrowed, something new, something old, and something blue. You know, I can work with that. I can work with that. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I've got for today. I guess that takes us to the outro. Oh my god. I need to lay down. Yeah, I think I drank a little too much water there. Ugh. Because before the stream even started, I had an entire glass of water even before that. And I drank that soda, which is not... The carbonation's probably not helping with my stomach either. Oof. But I didn't throw up, so I think we're all good. So yeah, what's coming up in the future? Part 2 of Pikmin 4 did come out today, right? I said I wanted to get that out sooner rather than later. So, you know, over the weekend, I finally sat down and I edited it. Right? I already had like half of it done. I just had to do the other half. And it took me a while, but I did get it done. I got it released today. I really like the thumbnail where it's the Pikmin carrying dead Olimar, but instead it's dead player right? It's dead me. I think that was just kind of like a very, like, I had a thumbnail with like glow Pikmin made, and then spur of the moment I saw the image and was like, oh fuck, I gotta go with this. It's just funnier. And then now there is one more part. I still have Olimar's Shipwreck Tales, which I cut out of the second part of the video, that I will be uploading as a separate video, hopefully a much shorter video. Right? Hopefully it'll be a lot shorter, because Olimar's Shipwreck Tales took us like 2 hours. So I think it'll be I don't think it'll... Right. Because between parts 1 and 2, it's like almost 4 hours. I think it's like 15 minutes under 4 hours. No, probably closer to like 20 minutes under 4 hours. Still a lot of Pikmin, right? Could I have cut a lot more, left a lot more on the cutting room floor? Of course I could have. But I'm happy enough with the edit. You know, it's okay. So yeah, that went out today. I'm glad I got that out, and I will get one more part out probably the first week of February. That's what I'm aiming for at the moment. Right? Give me another week or two. Even though it's not a huge edit like the previous two, I should still be able to get it out. And I do already have the thumbnail for that one made. I actually made that thumbnail before the other two. Yeah. I did do some speedrunning of Pikmin 4. After watching the ADGDQ run, I was like, oh fuck, I should do a run. Honestly, my worst run in a while. I had an awful run. It's not even like that everything like went wrong or anything like that. It was just a slow run. Like, it wasn't like I didn't have like bad RNG. The Pikmin didn't like completely disobey me. Okay, the second time. The first time, I like, the first run I did, I quit out like 20 minutes in because something just went terribly wrong. And I was like, oh shit, I gotta start this all over again. But the second time around, no, it was a fine run. Not gonna submit it to the leaderboards or anything, but I'm rusty, right? I guess that's what it comes down to. I don't know. I wish I had more time. Like, I wish I could do a run every day. I would love that. If just every day I could sit down and do a run of Pikmin 4, right? Like, I don't think I'll ever have the world record, but I would love to get it to like an hour and a half. Because I still cannot get under an hour and a half. So yeah, we'll see. But I had a good time. And that's just me, like, casual. Like, I did it while listening to my podcast. And yeah, I honestly think, like, it's admittedly a little longer than a podcast. Like, doing a run of Pikmin takes a little longer than a podcast, because usually podcasts are like an hour long. But, what you gonna do? And yeah, I think that's it. Next week we'll be back with another episode. I think we're still in January. I do fully expect a Nintendo Direct in February. But we've still clearly got some time for that. They did announce that they're actually... So we played Mincemeat Metalworks today. They did announce that they're removing the map from the rotation for a few days to give it an update. And honestly, it's a map that desperately needs an update. Mincemeat Metalworks might be the worst map in rotation. So to give it an update, I think is fantastic. Hopefully the update is good. I have no idea. There's always the possibility they could make it worse. But no, I think that's good. I don't think the next update is still coming until, like, end of February, early March. I still think the DLC is happening then. Because I know we do have that Donkey Kong game in February, and I know we have the Princess Peach game in March. But I do think we're gonna see the Splatoon DLC at the end of February. I think it would be... I know we haven't gotten, like, a trailer or anything in a while, but it'd be weird if we didn't. Yeah, I definitely think we're going to get that right. Like, I don't think they'll shadow drop it with the Nintendo Direct, but it'll probably be like, hey, guess what? It comes out, like, next week. Like, it's not going to be too far between the Direct and the actual release of things. Ooh. And then what else? And then we definitely got to get in... That Princess Peach game comes out in March. We desperately need a new trailer for that one. Not that I'm expecting anything amazing. We just need something, I'd love a better look at it. I'm probably still going to get it, but probably... I'm definitely getting that new Donkey Kong game. I loved the Donkey Kong game growing up as a kid. I had the original one on Game Boy, but then I had the Minis March Again on the DS. I think it was a DSi game, and then later a DS game, and I loved those games. They're like cute little puzzle games. So yeah, I'm super excited, and I think I did have the one they're remaking. I'm like 80% sure I did. So yeah, I'm just excited to, play it again. I think it'll looks great, so I'm excited for that. But I think that's where we're gonna have to end off today. Oh my god. Even though I don't want more water, I kind of do at the same time. God, water is good. I wonder, did we talk about this before? There's that water that, like, it's not, like, flavored, but it's, like, scented, where they try to use, like, scents to trick you into thinking the water tastes different. Does that shit work? Like, is that shit good? Because there's a part of me that, like, I feel like, because, like, I've got a crippling soda addiction that I really do need to break, but I don't like all, like, the flavored waters that are, like, that, just to, like, how, like, people get, like, to get off of cigarettes, they do, like, the nicotine patches to, like, slowly weave themselves off. I feel like, for me, flavored waters would lead me off of soda addiction, but I don't like any of the flavored waters. But I feel like, oh, if that scented water is good, maybe I like that. Because, sometimes water is the tastiest thing in the world, and other times it's just awful. Like, sometimes, like, right now, it's the tastiest thing in the world. But, like, when I wake up first thing in the morning, oh, it's gonna taste so bad. So it's just, I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. This is where I'm gonna end off. Hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Till next time, peace.